The subject of this lecture is the church and corrections. Should the church be involved in local jail and prison ministries? Should the church be concerned about setting things right in community where the criminal justice system is concerned? I believe it should. Let's talk about it. I'm Adrian Halverstadt, and I'm Director of Criminal Justice at Berkeley College. You can read more about our college at berkeleycollege.edu. We have on-campus courses and degrees, graduate programs, and also online. You can earn a criminal justice degree from Berkeley College online and be prepared to work within the largest employment agency in the United States, the criminal justice system. Look us up and see if you may be interested in working with our program and helping out to make things right in our nation by employment in the criminal justice system. The church and corrections. Most criminologists agree that crime has both a public and a private dimension. By design, the United States criminal justice system focuses on the public component, on society's interest and obligations as represented by the state. The legal processes of the criminal justice system tends to discourage responsibility and empathy on the part of those who have offended. Unfortunately, this emphasis then downplays or ignores crime's personal and interpersonal aspects. As recidivism rates indicate, the current system does little to curb corruption or to restore felons, families, or local communities. When the state takes over in the pursuit of making sure a criminal gets his or her just desert, it often undermines a sense of community. It ignores those who have been victimized. It ignores the community and where the crime occurred. Communities are impacted by crime, and they should be considered secondary victims and primary stakeholders in setting things right for neighborhoods, victims, and offenders. The local church can help in this matter. In fact, I'm convinced that local communities will not be able to pull off what is needed unless the church engages in this noble task. So what can the church do? What can they do to set things right in their community? What can they do to work specifically within the corrections system where their church is housed, where their people live? Let me provide some resources or some aspects for your consideration. The church can provide Bibles and printed Christian-based literature to the jails and local correctional facilities. They can empower their pastor. They can even put it into his or her job description to visit routinely the local jails or correctional facilities and meet with inmates and offer encouragement and give spiritual counsel. Not only would it be good for their visibility for the inmates' benefit, but also for the jail workers and those prison officers to know that somebody cares enough to show up and respect the role and the work that they do on behalf of civil society. What else can churches do? Well, they can provide worship services and Bible studies for inmates. They can collaborate with local law enforcement agencies and municipalities to identify and provide support for spouses and children of inmates. That goes a long way in the integration process. Engaging in victim advocacy work is something the church can do as well. Crime is often, as I mentioned previously, defined as against the state. So often the state takes the place of victims per se. This causes those who have been victimized or or have been hurt by crime to feel ignored, neglected, or even abused, re-abused, if you will, by the justice process itself. It's as if they are set aside and ignored while the state takes over and gets its pound of flesh. Crime often causes victims to feel powerless, to suffer physically, and lose valuable resources. The church can help out in each of these areas. They can help victims find wholeness once again. The church, God's agent at work in the world today, she can provide the personnel and needed resources for the reentry of inmates back into home life and neighborhoods. The church can provide workshops that would address the critical causing factors that contribute to crime. Some of the workshops that the church could provide today that would help curb crime and make people whole would be focused on marriage rebuilding. How about parenting and domestic violence? Crime is often associated with those three big problems in our society today. Other recovery type programs and workshops could focus on personal finance, vocational coaching, and overcoming childhood trauma. Healing from childhood trauma is unique. Studies reveal that it is often the root cause for damaged emotion. Childhood trauma is often known to create addictive cycles in a person's life and lead to various and sundry criminal behavior. You know, if we could heal up childhood trauma, it would go a long way to making people whole and keeping our communities safe. Out of this list that I've just mentioned, and there's many more that we could add to it, out of this list, a church could select one or more of these areas, make that their focus ministry, obtain curriculum, train leaders, and offer workshops. You know, most workshops that I've been a part of in terms of recovery and working with the reentry and reintegration and rehabilitation, they would be structured in 1 week or 6 week or 12-week venues, somewhere through there, and they would include 30 to 45 minutes of instruction and then another 35 to 60 minutes of small group facilitated discussion. Good results come out of that structure. Small group facilitators often go on then to be mentors for those whom they lead in these workshops, and they're able to stay involved in the person's life and continue the healing process with them. Oftentimes these workshops are put on in the church facility itself, but other times it's more appropriate to hold them in a community venue, such as in a city building or a library, or someplace where people feel safe and comfortable going to. There are many options for where these workshops can occur and how they can occur. The important thing is that they do occur. They are needed, and the church has the resources to pull it off. Once these programs are established by a local church, local municipalities and law enforcement agencies can promote them on their website. Informational brochures can be printed and made available to law enforcement personnel to carry with them, to keep them in their cruiser, to put them on their person, to pass them out to individuals who maybe are first-time offenders and they'd rather not send them to jail or put them in the court system, but rather through their executive privilege in the moment offer them a valuable resource as an option to going to jail. There's great value in a printed brochure and having law enforcement and attorneys and counselors and judges and community leaders on board and able to distribute and market the information. It's important to note that police officers, lawyers, and judges in particular have discretionary power by law. This means they can legally use their individual judgment to decide the best course of action in performing their sworn duty. Many of our criminal justice officials would prefer using alternatives to putting someone in jail or prison, primarily when the option is concentrated on one of these critical causal factors of crime, reasons for why crime occurs. When churches and community leaders engage in this vital strategy, they deliver an alternative to jail time for some offenders. They also supplied the needed resources for healing broken people, and they provide the resources for building community wholeness. Together, churches have within their means the resources to make things whole in their community and to help right our nation's correctional system's weaknesses. If you'd like to learn more about how churches can be involved in the criminal justice system, please reach out to me here at Barclay College. Love to share information with you. Together, we can make a difference and make people whole and our community safer.